I could say cursor.execute show tables and then use fetch all. So this is going to run the thing for us, and it fetches all of them, and we get back there are 3 tables. There's course, enrolls in, and student. So notice the structure of this thing here. I'm doing fetch all, so I'm getting back a collection of rows, and this is each row. Now each row contains just one item, the name of the table. So we get a collection of each row itself is a collection of fields. So for example, if I did another query like select course name from student, inner join enrolls in on student blah blah, the stuff that we looked at before, and execute the query, then I get the fact that student John is enrolled in data analytics and Python. If I wanted to add more information to this, comma enrolls in dot score, and now run this, I get the score as well. So you can see what I'm getting back is a list. So now I can actually say do this, let's say result equals cursor.fetch all. I can say for thing in result print thing. Oops, I didn't run that. And now I get it like this, right? Or I could even do it nicer. I could say print thing 0, comma thing 1, comma fep equals \t as a separator, right? And run this, and I get a nice kind of thing there. I can pop a header on it. I could say print course name, comma score, comma separator equals \t, and run that, and I get a nicer looking table. But the goal here is that we're getting all of them, and we are putting them inside a Python tuple in this case, and each tuple contains the resulting Python tuple contains a bunch of tuples that corresponds to each row. I mean, extract the data using our normal Python iterator kind of stuff, and we can then do whatever we feel like with it. So that's the roughly a very quick way of looking at the query. The only other thing that I should point out here, which I haven't really done, is that if you add data into the database, right? So if I make a query equals insert into, let's say I get a new student, right? Student values. Actually here I could be a little bit careful. So I'm going to use a single quote over here rather than double quote, and I'll explain why in a second. Values, and now I want to give each value. So the social security number is let's say 000-11-2322, something like that. SSN, comma say Bing, comma Crosby, comma, and let's say phone number is 234-567-0000, comma city is New York, comma zip is 10001. So as you can see here, what I've done is, because when I send my data to, I need to put a semicolon in as well. When I send my data to the SQL server, any string literal has to be in double quotes. So generally, when you send the query, it's probably a good idea to set it up in single quotes, because Python will allow you to do both, right? So it makes life easier for us. So now I can say here cursor.execute query. And it's executed the query. So if I look at this stuff here and I do query equals select, doesn't matter here, star from students, from student cursor.exec query cursor.fetch all. I run this. So you notice now I have Bing Crosby added into this. However, if I go to my workbench and look at that there, so I do select star from student and I run this, there's no Bing Crosby, right? The reason is that I'm running this on my client, and my client is now, it runs on the client, and my client now sees a view of the database that includes Bing Crosby. However, for the other customers, other clients of the database, that is not actually updated. It's not actually fully updated in the database itself. So the idea being that you might be running test kind of stuff, you might not be sure that you want to add it in, and it's only when you're sure that you want to add your database, the new data permanently, or alter or change or something, the new data permanently into the database, then at that point you want to propagate that change to the rest of the database. And there's a good reason for this, because you might be working with hundreds of lines of data, and perhaps somewhere, like let's say you're adding 1 million new records into a database, and somewhere around record number 200,000 something happens. You accidentally pull the plug on your computer, for example, right? Or there's a bug somewhere that you hadn't found earlier, and you don't want that the data to be only partially updated in the database. So if something happens in the middle, then it shouldn't be reflected in the change shouldn't be reflected in the entire database, because it could be erroneous. For example, maybe there's some relationships that are not fully completed, right? So you want to make sure that only when every possible change or every possible inconsistency is removed from what you're adding, at that point you want to reflect those changes in the database. So in Python, what you can do is, or in the thing, you do what's called a commit. So say db.commit, and what this does is it now commits the change to the database. And now if I go back to the workbench and run the query again, I get Bing Crosby there. That's the idea there. So I guess that's pretty much it. With this, we are in good shape to look at SQL and be prepared to face it, so to speak. So that's it. Thank you.